is what I'm going to be painting next. All right. So that's going to be lighter lights is a little bit lighter than the shape below it. So these lighter lights is what I'm going to be painting next. All right. So that's going to be the main light. The main light. Now we first have to kind of create and pick this color, because if you just look at the color stack, we only have the colors for the base and the shadows. So how do we pick this light color? And it's actually really simple. The way that I pick it is the opposite of what I would do for the shadows. So taking our color sliders that we talked about yesterday, you guys remember how I pick a shadow color? I select the base color, and then I'll go darker, and I'll go more saturated and a couple of more points towards the red. Okay, so that's how I'll make a shadow color. Now to make a light color, I'll go lighter and I'll go less saturated, and I'll go a couple of points towards the yellow. So I'll go away from the red. So to create a light, I'm going away from the red. Oh, you guys are saying mouth, 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 mouth. You're right. I did forget. I did forget to add the darker shadow in the mouth. All right. Oh, you guys catching me right here. This is really this is really what it is. I kind of forgot to add the whole darker shadow in the mouth. Okay. Hey, we doing blunders. This is what it is. So yeah, let's go back to paint right here the shadow of the mouth, and I haven't even painted it in the other ones, but yeah. So for the shadow of the mouth, we have this darker shadow color, right? Sorry, we have the darkest color. We already painted with that one, and I would add it in the. Let me see where the layer is for the lips. I would add it at the bottom. Wait, this is the smaller shadow layer. I got so many layers now. You guys teaching me. This is what it is. So going into the bottom lip right here, I would add this darker shadow right here that we're seeing. And also there's a bit of this darker shadow in the top lip right here. But if I paint it, it could end up looking a little too kind of too obvious. So I would actually leave this um, in the rendering tomorrow. And then if a shadow actually looks too dark, you can either just brighten up the color, obviously, or another thing you could do is you could lower the opacity of that layer. So that way, that shadow is just not as dark. All right. So that's what I would do for the mouth. All right. Now let's go back to the main lights. So in the main lights, we've already created this lighter color based on the base color. So I would pick the base and I'll go lighter, less saturated, and away from the red. And then that's how I'll get this lighter variation for the base. You know, and it doesn't even have to be that different. The same way that the shadow colors don't need to be that different from each other. It's all about creating um, a variation that could really create depth in the painting. And then if I wanted to create an even lighter color, I will go lighter, even less saturated, and even more away from the red. And then that's how I would get this highlight color that I'll be using tomorrow in the rendering. And this is really like the kind of like a reversed color stack. I don't know what you guys are gonna come up. I don't know what you guys will come up for this one. But this is kind of like the complete color stack for the hair. So you see on top we have the shadows, and then I like this shape because it really shows you the base, the smaller shadows, and then the smaller lights at the bottom. All right, you guys are gonna name this one something crazy. I know you're gonna do. All right, so if we take a look at the reference, we can actually see, right, this lighter light right here, and right below it there's this darker shape, right? And then just below that it's actually lighter as well. So these are the lighter lights that I'm going to be painting. So using this right here, using this color that we made from the color stack, you guys are going crazy in the chat. Too many propositions. We gotta come together and pick one. We gotta we gotta pick one. So these are the shapes that I would paint. Oh, I haven't zoomed out. These are the shapes that I would add right here in the cheek, you know? And you see the difference between the base color and the lights is not really that big, but it really kind of creates this extra depth in the base color. Now, do you notice how as I'm kind of adding these main lights, like the shading is kind of clean? This is because I have placed the main light below the shadows. So if that main light was actually like above the shadows, it would just kind of look messy, and I can actually, start mixing the lights and the shadows. We could really kind of make this messy sort of an effect. So to prevent that from happening, I like adding the main light below the shadow, and that way I'm keeping the light and shadow separate. And I have found that to really be kind of the secret of against the muddy shading, is to really keep those two separate. So that's really the main light. And then if you look at the other side of the cheek, the same thing is happening, where we have this top side, which is a little bit brighter, then right below is slightly darker, and then it's lighter again, right? So on the other side, I would paint that same light shape right here, and then I would also paint it right here in the mouth. And then if we take a look at the forehead, you can kind of see how the forehead has this lightness on each side of the forehead, but then the middle of the forehead is slightly darker, right? So I would add these main lights on the side of the forehead. Now, as I'm adding those, you see kind of how I'm just not using just like a rectangular shape, but it might kind of be more triangular. It might have a little bit of a curvature in order to make the shape look more interesting. So these are the main lights that I would look at, like in the cheeks and in the neck. And next, let's take a look at the nose. So if we look at the nose, we could see these really obvious highlights, but I'm going to be painting those tomorrow in the rendering, because those are like a lot more smaller details. So for now, I'm thinking more about like the bigger area where the nose is actually lighter on the top part of the bridge and at the bottom part of the bow that we actually talked about with the invisible lines. So I would add this main light in the top part of the bridge and in the bow of the nose. And then lastly, if you kind of look at the chin right here, you can kind of see how we have this darker shadow right here, and then it's lighter, like slightly below it, and then it's kind of darker again. So I would just add this lighter light right here in the chin. So these are the main lights of the skin. And check out what we have done is we have really separated the base, right? Like that base, we've separated it into the base and the lighter lights. And because the base was already like this light color, we have done the same thing that we did for the shadows. For the shadows, we separated the darker shadows within the bigger shadow, and now over here we have separated the lights from the base, right? So this is what I'm really seeing when I look at the skin. I know this sounds like this sounds. I know this looks creepy, but it really is kind of like the lighting puzzle of the face. Does that make sense to you guys? You guys are spamming the croissant. Maybe that's what it is, the croissant method. Croissant stacking. All right, I like it. I like it. The croissant can stick. Is that how you pronounce it though? My English not that great. Croissant. Okay, that's good. That's good. This is, yeah, you know what? I should have just come on this live and figure out like these names with you. I was just staying by myself, crushing my head, and shout out to our team, of course. We were just staying with our team, crushing our head. How do we call this stuff? I should have come on live, asked you guys. This is really the croissant method. All right, nice, nice. Yes, yes, yes. I'm really happy this is making sense to you guys so far. So this is the lighting puzzle of the face. All right. Now next. Let's take a look at the main lights for the hair. So we already have these smaller shadows. I'm gonna hide them so they don't stand too much in the way. So the same way that we have with the shadows, if you look at the hair, like this whole hair chunk is lighter, but the top part of the hair chunk is lighter, and then right as it kind of goes down, it's not as light, right? The same way with this top chunk, this top part would be lighter, and then as it goes down and less light is actually able to reach, it's not as light, right? So these yellow shapes right here is what I'm seeing for the main light in the hair. So we first need to just pick that color though. So the same thing that we did for the face, I would do with the hair. So picking the base color of the hair, I would go slightly brighter, I would go slightly desaturated, and a couple of points away from the red. So that's how I'm able to get this lighter color right here, which is really like a variation of the base. And then if I wanted an even lighter one, I will go even lighter, even less saturated, even more away from the red. And then that's how we'll get this highlight color that we'll be using tomorrow to really paint the highlights of the hair. And that's really the croissant of the hair. All right, that's sketchy though. I ain't gonna lie, that's sketchy. That's the croissant for the skin, and that's the croissant of the hair. And the croissant is really the full poop stack developed, right? That's really the croissant. Hey, we figured it out together though. It's crazy. All right. So now let's use this lighter color right here, okay, to start painting. Wait, I don't have the lighter color. Wait, I'm on the wrong layer. No. Okay. Start using this lighter color to paint these lighter main lights in the hair. All right. So these shapes that we talked about. Now, if I start just using like this rectangular shape, right, it could look a little bit boring. So this is why instead I'm looking for a way where I can almost like extend the shape and make it look much more like triangular to kind of create these smaller shapes, right? So I'll kind of paint some like this, and then on top do the same thing. Now, as I'm adding these shapes, you see what's really happening is I'm creating really the illusion of hair. And thanks to all of these different shapes that we've added, you see kind of how they're interlinking into each other like an actual puzzle. And we have so many different shapes now that are coming from the different things that we've added. So we have right here, we have a shape that's coming from the base, right? And then right below it, we have a shape that's coming from the first shadow. And then underneath that, we have a shape from the second shadow. And then on top, we have this shape right here from the main light. And it's really the stacking of all of these different shapes that is creating the illusion that there's actual hair there, you know, but I'm not painting like the individual hairs. And once I have those shapes, I could render them, create even smaller ones, and really make the hair look more realistic. But it's really within these shapes right here. All right, this is a guy sending some some dead emojis. I'm gonna take that as a compliment that it makes sense. So yes, this is really big. Adelina says, this reminds me of the arcane style. Yes, they actually use this a lot. They really use this a lot, all right? So let's paint more of these main lights right here. We have this whole top side of the 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 hair chunk. I don't know why that just kind of went out of my head. But instead of just like a rectangle, I can kind of extend these like little shapes right here and create more smaller shapes and create the illusion of hair, right? And then you could see some more of these main lights right here on the other side of the hair, like right here, right here. Now there's gonna be like this lightness right here that's actually coming from the roots of the hair. So we're actually seeing the scalp of the person. But I would still use that same color that we have for that lighter shape so they actually match together. And then a cool trick that I like using is actually painting like a bigger shape like this, and then using a small eraser to actually cut out some little gaps within it. And I find this really useful because what that does is it kind of creates this illusion of small hairs while we can still see like this bigger shape relating to each other, right? So that's kind of how I'm able to paint these smaller lights within the hair. And then we have some right here in the back as well. So this right here, like this thing right here in the back. So I will just add that right here. And that would be the main light in the hair. So you kind of see that before and after. Next, let's take a look at the lights within the clothes. So in the clothes, we would also have these lighter lights right here, you know, like places where they're a little bit lighter. And we would also have like slightly darker places, right, within the lights. So we first need to create the color though for the croissant. So we have the base color, and I would go brighter, less saturated. And in the past, you know, I've told you to go away from the red. Okay, you remember this, guys, from yesterday? When we're in the blues, the closer red is this one on the right. When we're in the oranges, this is the closer red. So when I'm in the blues, to go away from the red, it will actually mean to go more towards the middle, right? So looking at that base color, I will go brighter, less saturated, and slightly couple of points towards the cyan. And then that's how I would get this lighter variation for the croissant, all right? And then if I wanted an even brighter one for the highlights, let's say, I would go even brighter, even less saturated, a couple more points away from the red, and that's how I'm able to kind of get the full croissant for the clothes, right? And using this kind of brighter color right here, I can kind of start really painting this lighter shapes. So I would just need to go on a separate layer, and the layers when I'm painting like this, even though they can like look more, I find it really useful to kind of have them separate, because at any point I can kind of go around the painting and adjust different things without it looking messy, right? And when we go into the rendering, we're actually going to merge these layers, but for now I find it really useful to actually keep them separate, because that way as I'm painting the shadows, or I'm painting like the main light, I can actually go and change some other stuff that might be slightly different. So with that, we have the main light for the clothes, and then for the headband, there's quite a bit of details, but I'm trying to keep it really simple, so I'm only looking at this kind of like real main light right here that we're kind of seeing. So I will just paint that right here with a really simple shape. And with that, we have the whole main light. Again, it's really subtle, but it's giving that extra dimension in the light. So those are the main lights that I'm seeing, all right? Now, that was the third step, the main light. Now let's take a look at the fourth and final step and add the additional light, all right? I can't wait to show you this thing right here, guys. Oh man, I'm super excited about this, all right? So let's take a look. You guys all following me? You locked in? All right, let's take a look. So with the additional light, we've already talked about kind of how in here in the back we can see all of this lightness in the hair, right? Now that's coming from an additional light that's coming from the side, right? And up until now, we've only and this, you can even see it kind of like right here, right? And up until now, we've been just painting only this main light that's coming from the top left. And this main light is so intense that it's actually like creating all of these like very obvious shadows, right? So because of these really obvious shadows, we could see the clear separation. But for now, we're actually gonna take a look at this additional light that is actually not as intense. And you guys are saying lips, 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 lips. All right, we'll paint the lips. We'll paint the lips. I don't know why I forgot for the lips, like all after like the first shadow, like with the lips and stuff. I don't know why I forgot about that. Let me just show you right here what's happening with the additional light, and we'll go into adding the lip that I forgot. So we have this additional light that is kind of less intense, and it's gonna hit not only the back of the hair, but it's gonna be hitting right here if you actually see the back of the jaw, like this whole lighter part. And we can even see it right here in the corners of like the whole ear right here. And you can even see it in this hair tie. So all of this lightness right here is the additional light that's actually coming from the side of the additional light, right? But how do we and this is really the additional skylight. But how would we really like pick like a color for this skylight is, well, if you kind of just go into the blues, you can pick a pretty bright color and have it kind of pretty saturated, and that was gonna give you like a color for a clear blue sky. But since we already have like a color from the color stack that is already pretty similar, I can just get that color and just get it more saturated, and that will be the color that I would use for the additional light. And in this way, I would really just be able to kind of make the colors actually match together more. All right. So using this color right here, I would add it, and you can kind of see it right here in the back of the neck. Like there's all of this additional light right here where it's kind of lighter, right? So going into like a new layer, I can start adding. Is everything good with the chat, by the way? Why does it look like so? All right. Hope where you're at on my end or nice. I'm just super hip. This is what's crazy about live streaming is when you when the like when the chat stops, it feels like there's like a like somebody pulls out like your your cord for life, and you just go like beep. And I'm like, oh my god, this we dead. All right, nice, really happy. So using this color right here, the more saturated version of the blue, if we paint this color in the back of the neck right here, let me just show you, with a new layer, it could kind of look way not really natural, right? Like it could look way too kind of obvious and way too blue. So what I like to do for the additional light is if we get the layer of the additional light, I like to just drop its opacity, right? And you can see right here what's happening with this color right here, right? And what's really happening, if you remember yesterday, same thing happened with the eyeballs. We have this shadow color right here, and then because we're lowering the opacity of this additional light, that color is starting to really mix with the shadow color underneath it. So we're really getting this new color that is kind of grayish, right? And this is where this kind of grayish color is in the reference that we're seeing. This is where this grayish color is coming from. But check this out. I'm not painting with this gray color directly because that could really end up with like muddy results, and it could really kind of make the painting look dull, right? Instead, I have stacked the shadows using the color stack colors right here, this variation, and then I'm adding this additional light, and when lowering the opacity, that creates this new gray color. Does that make sense, guys? Does that make sense to you? So this is why I really like color stacking, because it really mimics the way that lighting works in real life, you know, and kind of how it's stacking. And that allows for the colors to look a lot more natural. All right. People saying, what sorcery is this? I'm really happy. Yes, yes, yes. I'm really happy this is making sense to you guys. I feel like for me, that was the biggest secret in coloring and shading that I was able to find, and I'm really happy to kind of share this with you guys, and it's making sense because I feel like this is really kind of what unlocked like my dull and kind of muddy shading, right? This is kind of like the steps of color stacking. And I had to wait until the very last step to really show you like why we're picking like these colors like this and all that, because I knew it wouldn't click until you kind of saw the full process. All right, I'm so happy this is clicking and making sense, you guys. Man, you don't know how happy I am. All right, so now let's paint the rest of this additional light right here, right? So using this color, we're gonna paint it in the ear right here in the back, and we're gonna paint it in this back triangle right here, okay? And we're also gonna have it, if you look at the reference, you can kind of see like this light shape right here. Let me grab this color. You can see this light shape right here which is really the side of our cheekbone, right? So this right here is where I'm gonna add it as well. Let me just pick that color for the side of the cheekbone right here. And if you look at the neck, we can also see a bit of this grayishness right here happening. So I would add this additional color right here. And you guys, now that you understand additional light and where it's coming from, you can actually spot it in a lot of different places, right? Like you could see it like in the shadows here, like you could see it like in all of these like very subtle places, right? Like you see kind of how it's a little bit bluish, like in the below the nose, below the mouth, but these are like really subtle, right? And we're actually going to be adding this additional light in all these places tomorrow in the rendering, because these are going to be like super subtle rendering stuff. For now, what we really want to get is more of these obvious shapes right here. All right, I'm really cool that you guys could see all the subtle places with the additional light. So if we go into the hair, we can actually see that same additional light. And if I go on a new layer and start adding this color, you can see once again how kind of like, oops, I've got to zoom out. If I start adding it in the hair, you can see how obvious like that color is, right? And it just looks so unnatural. So once again, dropping the opacity of the layer, and what's really happening is it's starting, like the color of the hair is starting to mix with this bluish color that we have, and that's giving us like a whole different color. And now if you see, do you see how this hair looks like it's being hit with the same light that the face is? But check this out, this color is completely different than this color right here, right? But it looks like it's being hit with the same light because I've used the same color and I've dropped the opacity and I've really allowed those colors to mix together. So that's how I would add the additional light in the hair right here. And we could have it in the right here in the side of the hair as well. And take your time with the shapes again, guys. Like I just want to show you this stuff, but how much you could really like kind of push it is really up to you. Nice. Nice. Everybody going, oh, nice. I'm super happy. And then even using the same exact color, I can add it in the hair tie right here in the corners of the hair tie. All right. And once again, it's really obvious, so just dropping the opacity. And then thanks to this, we could really see like the face, the hair, and the hair tie all being hit with this additional light, right? That's the fourth step of really the lighting puzzle. So thanks to all this is how I'm able to really add the shapes of the lighting puzzle. We have the bigger shadow, the smaller shadow, the main lights, and really the additional light. All right. And once I have these shapes, it's so much easier to really add the rendering and kind of make the face looks real. Oh, and the lips, I forgot once again. Yes, do add the lips, okay? I'm gonna trust you guys to add the lips by yourself, and I'm gonna be adding them more tomorrow in the rendering. You guys checking me with the lips, all right? So this is really how I'm able to kind of have those shapes in the lighting puzzle, and you see in the actual rendering, it's really the same shapes that are underneath it, right? So yesterday, guys, we did the color matching of the first step. Today, we did the lighting puzzle, and tomorrow, we're gonna be doing the rendering of the portrait, all right? You guys, no, 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 no. All right, okay, okay. You want us to add the lips together? Let's add the lips together. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Uh, so right here, I'm gonna be adding this darker shadow that we did with the lips, and taking a look at that darkness right here. And as I showed you before, it's a lot easier sometimes to just drop the opacity so it's not that obvious. And I can even add this like additional light in the lips as well, and then just drop down like that opacity so we could really start seeing like the colors mixing within the lips. All right, so that's really how Same thing as with everything else, how the additional light is working. All right. So with that, we have the lighting puzzle, and tomorrow we're gonna be doing, the rendering. And guys, I just want to say that there's obviously many different ways where you could really like color and add lights and shadows. So there's no right and wrong ways in art. Like I'm just showing you this one way that has kind of worked for me and my students, and has really kind of allowed me to kind of understand shading in the best way possible. And with this, I want to show you some really cool things, all right? And it's kind of like sharing time. It's sharing time at the end of the live streams that I want to share. You guys want to see some cool stuff? All right, let me share with you some more stuff. All right, we going a little late today. We going a little late. I got so many things I want to show you guys as well. All right. And you guys remember my student Jason that I mentioned earlier, right? And before the build-up method, Jason really kind of struggled with shading, and his kind of work, he felt kind of flat, and he wasn't really sure what's happening, right? And thanks to the build-up method and everything that I've been showing you up until now, guys, Jason was able to achieve this crazy progress right here. How crazy is this? Like, you seeing the before and after of this? So he's really used all of the same techniques, guys, that I've been showing you today. But I want to be clear, guys, like, he didn't achieve this progress overnight. Like, it still took Jason like a year to go from here to here.